And Philip went down to Samaria and he preached the gospel and he started casting out devils, and the blind began to receive their sight and the lame began to walk. Chains began to fall off and there was great joy in the city. There is no joy like the kind of joy you have when you got a breakthrough in your life and you see deliverance. I know we are criticized for the way that we worship. I know it gives some trouble to some people because they think we are clamorous and boisterous and uncouth and unnecessary, and they don't think that it is appropriate for intelligent people to act so flamboyant and so flagrant in their style of praising God. But I say to them, if you saw where God brought me from, you would praise him too. If you knew how my house was on fire and the enemy was trying to destroy me and I barely escaped. I mean, I burned my socks leaping out of the window, but I made it by the grace of God. Excuse me if I dance in my front yard and shout in my living room, because I can still smell the smoke of what almost happened in my life. And when I think of the goodness of Jesus and all, yes. And there was great joy in the city. There was joy in the city. There was celebration. There ought to be joy in your city. Somebody tell them I got joy in my city. I've been in a drought, I've been in a dry place, but I got joy in my city. I'm starting to get a feeling that everything is going to be all right. It may not be all right right now, but I'm starting to get a little optimistic that I will survive. Maybe it won't kill me. Maybe I'm coming out of this all right, and there's great joy. Don't deny me my joy, you player, hater, you. Let me have this moment. I earned the right to have this joy. I ought to dance at least as long as I cried. I ought to celebrate as long as I suffered. How dare you sit there and roll your eyes and pass notes when you see me get a breakthrough? You weren't there when I was in Hell's Kitchen coming out with smoke in my cloud. Now, my brothers and sisters, here lies the contemporary problem that we face in our society that is reflected by what occurs in Samaria. They have great joy like we have great joy. They have great services like we have great services. They have great praise like we have great praise. They have great exuberance like we have great exuberance. But the real enemy rages on. Isn't it amazing how you can dance and shout and still go home to hell? If you think about it closely, most people stop at this point in the deliverance. They have great joy, and what they really did was switch addictions. They went from being addicted to drugs to being addicted to church. They go to church to get high. They go to church, and whoever can preach them the highest and get them the happiest, just numb me till I forget about the hell that I'm going through. And I just want to get a good feeling, titillate my senses and my emotions. And sometimes we're satisfied to have great joy, but there's a new breed of Christian coming up. We don't want to be entertained, we want to be edified. We don't want to be excited, we want to be delivered. There's a new breed of Christian who wakes up in the morning with their Bible in their hands and say, devil, this means war. Come hell or high water, I'm gonna huff and puff till I blow this thing down. If I don't get it on the first Sunday, I'm coming back on the second. If I don't get it in the first month, I'm coming back on the second month. But I refuse to live with my daddy's devil operating in my life. The devil is a lie. I'm coming out. These are the people who drag their children to the house of God. Single mamas with babies on each arm and one in her lap, pressing to the house of God, trying to raise up a child in the way that they should go, saying, I want you to grow up so that you don't have to go through what I went through to get a breakthrough. I want you to know who Jesus is. I want you to know what he's able to do. I want you to know that there is an anointing that destroys the yoke. These are often women who are struggling themselves, going through hell themselves, but dragging their children, dragging their sons and daughters into the house of God. These are men who finally woke up and recognized that having more women don't make you more man. And now they're bringing their sons into the house of God because they're hungry for deliverance. Now there is a problem. Sit down, let me talk to you about this problem. There is a problem in this text. Here is the dichotomy that exists in the text. The oxymoron that exists in the text is extrapolated in one phrase, that Simon the sorcerer is still existing in spite of the joy of the saints. Simon the sorcerer has controlled the entire city. When you think about demonic influence, don't think in terms of demon possession, because that is a minuscule understanding of satanic attack. It's not that Satan wants to possess one individual. Your vision is narrow if that's all you're thinking about. He really wants to control territories. He wants to set up dominions over regions. Says Simon the sorcerer controlled the region. Everything was up under his auspices or control. These are what the Bible calls principalities. They're magistrates, they're demonic magistrates who serve over entire regions or councils. And they say, I've got the whole city tied up. They say, you can't do that in Atlanta. Don't try that in Philadelphia. Don't try it in New York. These principalities set up dominions over regions. And you'll notice when you go into certain regions, there are certain spirits that are more prevalent in certain cities. Certain cities are controlled by homosexual spirits, and other cities are controlled by gambling